Hello everyone, Excoundrel here, welcome to the channel. We have got another patch. I did not think this patch was coming out so soon. I only just got given the notes about, well, this video is getting released at 3 AM, so about 7 hours before this. So I really had a short amount of time to turn this around. But yeah, we've got patch 2.3a coming out for Wildrift, which is bringing new skins, new stuff, but also more importantly, some relatively big champion changes, but B, item and jungle changes as well. So let's go through it. I'm sorry that I'm not feeling as energetic as usual. I was so ill last night, like throwing up. Oh, you don't need to know the details. Basically, I was very ill, and I'm not feeling too hot right now. So as you can see, we are getting the quote-unquote sexy skin line. We're getting a pool party, which has everybody kind of like in beachwear essentially. So it's the beachwear sort of the beachwear stuff here for the Wildrift. So I'm interested to see how those float with you guys, whether you like them or not. Lots of different pool party related emotes. Pool Party Leona, one of the first skins I actually really ever bought on the League PC client. Still uses to this day. She has an umbrella as her sword. Let's talk about the champion changes then. Okay, so Ahri is getting a very slight armor nerf, which is interesting because, you know, how many like AD matchups do you generally find yourself in the mid lane? Because obviously Ahri very unlikely to go into any other lane. I did see a Reddit post about a guy that played primarily Ahri AD carry, and this is going to hurt the Ahri AD carry build path. But in terms of mid lane, you know, it's going to make her AD matchups a little harder. Obviously, she'll be a little more susceptible to ganks from things like Lee Sin. But realistically, it's not probably going to have as much impact as like the armor nerf on Akali did. Like, this is not going to make Ahri, in my eyes, significantly worse. It'll just make her slightly worse into matchups like Yasuo Zed, for instance. But overall, you're probably not going to feel that 5 armor nerf massively in most other mid lane matchups. Evelyn is a home-wrecking, high-skilled play too ferociously, and it's basically they're nerfing her ability to steal objectives with her ultimate. Honestly, thank God for this, because this was one of the most annoying things in high elo, especially to have to play against. Evelyn, who just flashes or blast cones over a wall and outsmites the jungler with her ultimate. Absolutely ludicrous, disgusting, and this is such a good nerf to Evelyn that I'm now extremely happy with where Evelyn is. One of the reasons I think Evelyn was having such a high prioritization in solo queue was because this was very much possible. I wouldn't say that it suddenly makes Evelyn a bad jungler, but it's definitely going to affect her pick rate ever so slightly, because this is one of the things that you could kind of use to last ditch get yourself back into the game, or like secure an objective that your team weren't able to get. And it was very difficult to outsmite Evelyn on this, especially in the late game. And she could just like go in and use it on the Baron and get out as well. You know, you don't even get punished for using it if no one can lock you down. So really happy to see this change on Evelyn. Might make her slightly less of a high priority in the sort of the higher elos, but this hasn't affected her damage. This hasn't affected her snowball potential massively, so not expecting it to have huge drops in the waters, but it is a very, very healthy change to Evelyn, because I was so sick of her ultimate outsmiting my jungler. Janna, her second ability is getting a base damage nerf. Not a huge amount early on, but 40 in the late game, which will make maxing your second ability as a Janna a little less attractive, because this is something that we've seen a decent amount of Jannas do in solo queue especially, and now it's good to see that toned down a little bit. A lot of Jannas now might be more willing to go for the shield max and be a little bit less oppressive with that second ability. But 40 damage, especially before you've built any significant AP items, is a relatively big hit, and so you will feel this as a Janna. Oh my god, hallelujah. I need like a hallelujah. Wait. That'll do. I'm very happy to see this, honestly. I am so incredibly happy to see this. This is a huge win for anybody having to play against Katarina. AP ratio on her veracity, which was the problem, it wasn't the base damage, is getting nerfed by 0.1 in the late game. So that's 10% on her scaling being nerfed in the late game, which is actually a relatively big change. Katarina's base movement speed is now set to 125 when spinning instead of being treated as a slow that could be reduced by slow resistance. And that's going to make phase rush not as impactful as far as I'm aware. Or at least phase rush might not work. But either way, it's getting set to 125. So you're going to be slower and you're not going to be able to move as quickly in her ultimate, and you won't be able to you won't be able to increase the speed by which you use your ultimate through things like phase rush. So there we go. It's some good changes for Katarina. I think enough to kind of push her down a little bit. Although what I will say is that 0.1 in the late game may not mean as much, but 0.1 in the early game certainly will impact how easy it is for Katarina to snowball. I think we'll still see Katarina played. She's still got a lot of healthy one tricks in the late game. This might not be enough to kind of really make her or really put her into a healthy position as a champion, but this is a good start. And I think the AP ratio, the passive was the problem. It wasn't anything other than the passive. So just hitting the passive with 2 separate nerfs might be enough to kind of push Katarina down a little bit. I don't think she was S tier or S plus tier in the first place. I think she was like A/S for sure, but because I think people have started to learn how to play against her more consistently. But this will definitely hit her and definitely make her slightly less abusive. They are increasing the range on Leona's Zenith Blade again, increasing the range by which Leona can engage fights. They really want Leona to be a thing, and they're just trying to make it so that she can get into fights a little more readily than she would be able to otherwise. But 8 is a pretty big range on Leona's engage. So, you know, expect to see some Leonas pop up. I think she was already kind of being played a little bit, but obviously not as popular because she's not that good into Braum, for instance, and Braum, or also not that good into Janna, who are both 2 champions that kind of reigned a little bit in the support role right now. But with the Janna nerf, you might start to see a little more Leona crop up into the meta. Wukong, they are increasing the healing when hitting the minions. So this is basically making Wukong better in the top lane or the Baron lane, or even in the mid lane. But they're just making it so that you can heal off minions a little more effectively with his first ability. Cool. I think okay, but his early laning phase is the major issue. But you know, they really do want lane Wukong to be a thing. They kind of want to make him viable just out, you know, outside the jungle as well. So this is a good start, and it might make his sustain in lane good enough to kind of deal with some of the worst matchups that Wukong has. Zinzal is getting another buff. He's getting an increase in magic resist and getting HP gained per level increased by 10. So he's going to get an overall 140 health increase in the late game. These are very small changes. I don't expect this to suddenly make Zinzal good. 8 magic resist is a decent buff, especially for base stats, but you know, for junglers, for the most part, armor is the most important stat because it's about how it affects your health in the jungle as you're going around. Magic resist might help him some early game skirmishes. 8 extra magic resist in the early game might give him a bit of a better platform to succeed at the first dragon fight. But I don't think that just base health and base magic resist changes are going to make Zinzal significantly better. I think these small changes will start to push him into meta a little bit. I already think he was a little bit underrated because he's already had those changes where you can dash to a target that you mark with your second ability. These might make him more playable, but they did kind of impact his early dueling potential with those changes that they made last patch. So I'm wondering whether that's, you know, still not a thing, basically. Might not be a thing still. And I think Zinzal may struggle to get into the meta. And I'll talk about why in just a minute. Items, Barmy Cinder minion and monster damage modification is down 25%, as is Sunfire Aegis. So essentially, tank junglers and tank lane builds are not going to be able to A, shove the wave as quickly, or B, clear the jungle as quickly. So they're really going hard on tank items here. Winter's Approach, which was a really crappy item, because it took too long to be even remotely effective, and there are not many mana tanks in the game right now. They're making it easier to stack. Do I think this is going to suddenly make Winter's Approach insane? Probably not, because as I said before, there aren't many tanks that utilize mana in the game right now. And so therefore, you know, and why would I build this over other items that I could build as a tank, like Sunfire Aegis? Even with the nerfs, it's still a good item. Ignite range is going up. It allows you to kill people a little more quickly. And we're increasing mana regen to help level the playing field between resourceless junglers and mana-hungry junglers. This change is significant, so we'll be keeping an eye on it. When you're in the jungle, or when you're in the river and you have Smite, if you're a mana intensive jungler, you're going to get 4 mana regen per second, which is insane, by the way. So things like Olaf, things like Amumu, they may not be super reliant on starting blue buff first. And now, obviously, a lot of Olafs and Amumus did start red buff regardless, but you often took a big hit in terms of your clear speed because your mana got hurt quite heavily. This is pretty insane. This is going to make mana-hungry junglers better by a decent margin. So Olaf might start to become a little bit more relevant. Amumu, again, giving him a slight little buff here as well. So this is a big change to mana-intensive junglers. I'm trying to think of the ones that are kind of like slightly in the meta. I'm just going to pop over to my tier list and have a look and see if any of them could be massively impacted by this change. Okay, so Fizz will be happy with this change. Kha'Zix will be happy with this change. Evelyn didn't really ever run out of mana. Wukong will certainly be happy with this change. As I said, Pantheon for sure. Pantheon took a lot of mana to get through the jungle, and Olaf took a lot of mana to get through the jungle, and obviously Amumu also, Diana maybe. But yes, some things like Fizz, Kha'Zix, Wukong, Olaf, Pantheon, they're all going to massively benefit from this change, and I think it'll be interesting to see how that plays out in the next patch, because it's not the only jungle change that we're getting another big jungle change. So the other thing that they're changing is outer tower gold. They're making it, you get more gold for taking the plates yourself, and you get less gold for the team. So it's going to help snowball the people that are taking those towers. It's going to be really good for split pushing Baron laners, for instance, like a Camille, Fiora, anything like that is going to get a big benefit out of this. It's an extra 150 gold yourself for taking the tower. So that's a pretty big change. It's going to help snowball your build a bit more effectively. And obviously it's going to give less gold over to the team. It does make taking towers a little less important. Not massively so. Clearly still very important. But if you're looking to use towers to snowball a global gold lead, you're obviously going to get hit a little hard by that. And so therefore there may be some decisions around certain dragons versus certain towers, which ones you'll be willing to trade for which. However, if I've got a really strong split pushing hyper carry and I want to funnel gold onto them, like giving them the tower gold is the way to do it. All right, jungle. We essentially, some camps were just not being taken, and specifically we all know that the Gromp and the Krugs were very hard to take. So they are nerfing the HP on the Gromp and Krugs. So Gromp is losing 300 HP, making it slightly easier to take, and the Krugs are getting a pretty hefty HP nerf, especially the big Krug. He's having a 400 HP nerf. He's having his HP reduced by 25% and 20% on the main Krug. This is going to make champions that otherwise had a relatively or slower clear speed better. This is a buff to things like Lee Sin, because you never usually went for the Krugs, since your clear speed was actually rather slow. Or well, not rather slow, but obviously slower than some of the other hyper farming junglers out there. So Lee Sin is, I think, just going to get better on this patch, because he's going to be able to clear the jungle more quickly. As things like Camille and Fizz, these are all champions that don't have the quickest clear speed in the world, and so therefore doing making the Krugs and the Gromp easier for them is going to make them better. And because they haven't changed the respawn time, hyper farming junglers are not going to get massive benefits out of this. The only thing that you might get out of a hyper farming jungler is the ability to hit level 5 more quickly and therefore be less vulnerable. I'm looking at someone like Shyvana. She may get benefit out of this change. But this is a very big change. In combination with the smite changes, we may see a rather different jungle meta on patch 2.3a, which is going to be very exciting to look forward to. But that is the whole patch, a relatively small one, but with big changes. And that's going to mean a lot in 2.3a. And I'll, as soon as I figure it out, I will let you guys know. And I'll also obviously update any tier lists towards the end of the week once we've had a bit of time to look at how things are going.